Should you ask about her sexual past? And if so, when? Well, the answer is yes. This is one of the most important questions that you must ask when you begin dating a woman. Same goes for the women watching the video when you're meeting men. And it's something that you want to get out of the way as soon as you start dating. Many people, as they're in relationships, they get married, and then they have that, oh, by the way, conversation, and they can never look at their spouse the same. In order to prevent that, you have to be bold, and you have to reveal this and uncover this from the get-go. So I'm going to break down here 4 reasons why you need to ask about sexual past, body count, sexual history. For some people it sounds iffy, you can't ask that, it's rude, but you're wrong. If you are going to share your life with this person, live with them, marry them, raise family, create life with them, and obviously you're going to be intimate, you're going to have sex with them, you should know what you're getting involved with. And they should come with a clean slate, with an open book, and so should you. But most dating coaches will tell you, don't ask, it's rude, you're going to push the girl away, and I'm going to really show you why that's wrong. This is the approach that I personally teach. When I first met my girl, I asked her on the very first phone call we had, which I'll explain throughout the video. I teach this to my clients, and they find out that it actually works. There are 4 reasons why you need to ask about a woman's sexual history. Number 1, for health and safety. Number 2, for emotional compatibility. Number 3, trust and transparency. Number 4, to avoid surprises. But before I break these down, let me first read to you an article I found on Twitter the other day, and I saved it, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to share this with everyone, make a video on it, because this is very misleading to young men. And it's from this guy called Be Her Leader. I think it's Michael Knowles, the guy's name, and props to him. He's a Christian man. He has a wife and 7 children. He usually gives good value. But he made this post, and this is terribly misleading, and I had to make a video on it. So let's read it out. He says, one of the least masculine things you can do is ask your wife about her sexual past. At best, it signals insecurity, anxiety, and jealousy. At worst, voyeurism. Some guys will even ask about dick size, earning, height, and ask to see social profiles. Was he funnier than me, Lamau? Stop. Cuck energy, and she'll look down on you for it. Now here's what I have to say on that. You don't need to know about the penis size of the men she's been with, or the earnings, or the height. You don't need to know any of that. Obviously, with that I agree with, that's wrong. You don't need to go that far. But you should know her body count. How many men have you slept with? In what context? Were they hookups? Were they one-night stands? Was it a boyfriend? Was it an ex-husband? Were your sexual partners because you were cheating? Were you having a threesome? Were you doing anything degenerate or dysfunctional? People don't want to ask that because it's uncomfortable, but it's the truth. He claims it's one of the least masculine things you can ask your wife. Well, newsflash, you shouldn't even have to ask your wife, because before she was your wife, when you were dating, you should have already known what you were getting involved with. And the amount of men that I've coached over the years, I have case studies, I have older videos on my YouTube channel of men who were married for 10, 15, 20 years. And then they finally ask their wife, because they didn't ask her during the dating phase. And they find out that the body count is she slept with 10, 20, 30, 40 men. That's why she can't bond with him. And their marriage fails. So this is really misleading advice for you single men, whether you are Christian, whether you are atheist. If you have any sense of morals, even for the ladies watching, you need to be careful what you get involved with. So asking is one of the most righteous things you can do. He claims that it signals insecurity, anxiety, and jealousy. No, it doesn't. And now, quite frankly, if you've waited until you're married, it's kind of on you. But for you guys who are single, or you just started dating a girl, you want to ask. And if your girl hasn't even asked you, and you've been together for a few months or a year or more, you should start to worry, because that's not normal either. And then he claims at worst it's voyeurism. And for those who don't know what the word means, voyeurism is people who pry too deep into someone's private sexual life, right? But if you're going to marry, have a family, be close, you have a right to know. So this is completely blown out of context with what he's saying. And I left a comment, you should know her body count immediately. What if she has an STD or other sexual illnesses, emotional dysfunction? You should know about her past, and so should she about you, right? It's fair, give and take. And then a lot of people were even calling him out. If you go into I'll leave the tweet down below, you can check it out. And he's claiming that you don't even need to know. That asking is weak, but it's not. And the reason why I'm using his tweet as for context is because there's a lot of dating advice in which men are told that you shouldn't ask. And I am a very firm believer that you should ask. To give you context, when I was younger and I followed this dating advice, that is what led me to have a lot of failed relationships when I was younger. I go back to my ex years ago when I was a younger man. Like, I assumed she was a sweet girl. I was a virgin back then. I was like, okay, I'm not going to ask. And then after a few months of me getting close with her, I asked. I slept with a few guys, 4 men. I'm like, okay, it's probably nothing. I'll be a sweet Christian boy and assume she's changed. She's a good person, right? Then you find out one's asleep, one's from hooking up, one's from a one-night stand with a guy whose name she didn't remember, one was from an ex, another one was from a friends with benefits. And when I found that out, I was disgusted, and obviously that relationship failed. I ended up walking away, and I was a virgin, and I was immature back then. And my point is, a lot of men are given that same advice. Don't ask, it's rude. But if I had asked at the beginning and I've gone deep, tell me more about that. I would have gone, what am I doing as a virgin Christian guy getting with a chick who slept with that many men? What is wrong with me? And that is why this be her leader's advice is so dangerous. It's wrong. So let me give you why you need to ask about her sexual past. Number 1 is health and safety. STDs, plain and simple. Understanding your partner's sexual history can help assess the risk of STIs. If you don't trust them, you can tell them to get a test, but if you don't trust them and you want them to get a test at the same time, it already says a lot about your situation. But there are cases where STIs can be irreversible if they have AIDS or they have something that affects their ability to conceive, to have children, or they pass down defects. I mean, I've read terrible stories, which I believe I mentioned in a previous video. But to cut corners short, there are many cases of men or women who have AIDS. They don't tell their spouse they have children. The wife gets an infection, she gets sick and dies. The kids turn out with birth defects, all because they lied about their sexual past. And the reality is, gentlemen, is you don't need a body count of 10. You could just sleep around with one person and you could get an STI from someone who has one. So it's like, the risk is there, but you have to ask. That's the reason. Number 1 is health and safety. The second reason is for emotional compatibility. Your values, your beliefs. Sexual history can often reflect one's values, their beliefs and their attitudes towards sex, which may be very important for compatibility. For example, if you're a guy who's had, let's say, 2 girlfriends and you've had sex with 2 girls in the context of a relationship, you are not going to relate well to a girl who tells you, oh, I've slept with 50 men. Because those 50 men were not boyfriends. Or, oh yeah, I slept with 6 guys at once from the football team. You're never going to relate. You'll never be able to see that girl again as someone pure or clean. She wasn't sleeping in a relationship. She was doing something really degenerate. And the thing is, you want to ask. And a lot of you may be thinking, yeah, but Christian, she can lie. Yeah, she can lie. But you'll catch her. Something will be off. Something won't add up. There'll be offense. There'll be, I don't want to talk about this. Her attitude will shift towards you. You'll kind of know by the environment, the town, the people you're around. People talk, news travels. You know, if you don't vet the woman, you end up marrying the town witch, and the town hoe will be your woman. You'll kind of see by the way people look at you, the amount of men that are close to her. Like, you'll always be able to find that out. I guarantee. If you have any intelligence and you're not blinded by your lust, you will be able to see. But when you start dating, you want to ask the girl, What is your body count? Tell me about your sexual past. We'll get into that in a second, but we're continuing with the emotional compatibility. But this stuff is really important, because if she gives you an example of, oh yeah, I've slept with 3 guys, but yeah, I cheated with one of them with the other. Well, now you know she's a cheater and she'll cheat sexually. That might make you uncomfortable, to which point you might not be compatible. Okay? Experience and expectations. Now, obviously, understanding each other's experiences can help manage your expectations, what you expect from marriage, right? To make you both feel comfortable and respected. So let me ask you, do you want a woman who's been with 10 or 100 men intimately? Probably not. I surely won't. Okay? If I have, which I do, one body from an ex in the context of a relationship, no hookups, no one-night stands, no cheating, nothing, why would I be with a woman who slept with 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 men? I wouldn't even be with a woman who slept with 2 or 3 men, personally. I wouldn't, because I wouldn't relate. If I've kept myself chaste for so long, why would I give myself to someone like that? It to me, and I know that's a very strict value, but with a lot of my clients it works, because it creates relatability. You don't want to be 5-10 years into your marriage and you're resenting them because you can't relate to the experiences that you've both had. It's different. You can't really accept them all the way, and it causes a lot of friction. So it's like, for emotional compatibility, your sexual history actually matters. Number 3, trust and transparency. Common sense. To build trust, you need to be open about your sexual history. To be open about something so intimate that has happened to you or that you've done in the past gives you both an open book. It gives you a fresh start to this beginning of your courtship, of your dating, to where you're both being honest with each other. You're telling each other the truth. And if you can be honest about your sexual history, and so can she, you're off to a very good start. Very good start. And it gives you both a chance to accept each other or either walk away at the beginning. Because if you find out something you don't like sexually, you can walk away because your feelings aren't involved. And this is why this guy's advice is so terrible. Don't ask about her sexual past. Yeah, because a lot of men are dummies. They don't vet the woman properly. And then they're sitting there in their 10-year marriage and he's like, hey honey, tell me about your past. And he finds out that she's been with so many men that he can't look at her the same way. Or it happens to the ladies. They find out he's been with a lot of women and she can't see him the same way. Newsflash to guys who have a past. Yes, women who have integrity and a low body count, they usually want a man who has the same. If you get out of your porn brain rot and your red pill ideologies, most women want a man with the same sexual history as the most men. So not asking is one of the dumbest things you could do. Asking at the beginning when you don't know her as a person, when you can really just walk away, that's key. And from what I told you at the beginning of the video, what happened with my ex years ago, right? I didn't ask until later on, and then I started to ask more and more and more because I know her now for a while and it's safe and comfortable to ask deeper questions. And then you're paralyzed by this disgust that I can't see her again. I wouldn't be proud to have this woman on my arm and call her my wife one day. She's a turn of every man. No man wants that. What does that say about me, right? The quality of woman you have is a reflection of you as a man because she represents you. So it's like, if I'd vetted harder when I was younger, guess what? That wouldn't have happened. But I'm glad it did, because it led me to where I am, and obviously I have an amazing woman now in my life. And I teach all of you guys how to find a good woman, how to properly vet a woman, why you need to be firm about this. And that is why you want to ask from the beginning. And I would go so as even further to say that even before you schedule a first date, you want to ask this question. Because if you match online, dating apps, even if you meet in person and you give her your number, when you go on that first phone call, ask. I have a video on this, 10 questions to ask before your first date to assess compatibility. And this is one of them questions. You're on the phone call and you ask, hey, be honest about your past. Because the worst thing you want is you have a date planned with this beautiful woman, you're waiting all week for it, the weekend comes, you show up Saturday at 8 p.m, boom, you sit at the restaurant, you start talking, a few weeks go by, you kind of growing closer to each other, and then there's like a video leak about her, or you find out that she's actually highly promiscuous, she's cheated on all her exes, but she doesn't really want to tell you, but people, it starts coming out. Or she confesses herself to you, look, I've slept with 40 men. What you're going to be thinking is, I've wasted all of these weeks thinking about her, going to bed thinking about her, waking up in the morning thinking about her, showing up on these dates, paying for these dates, investing in her emotionally, when I could have found a better woman instead. And now you have to break up, go back to square one, and start from zero and scratch. Do you want that? No. That is why my formula is, you ruthlessly ask and you vet from the beginning. And once you have a foothold of some type of compatibility, in this case, her sexual history, and now there's trust, there's transparency, as it says in number 3 on the video, guess what? Now you can look forward to your first date because you've vetted the woman. You know what you're getting involved with. Instead of, I'm showing up on the first date, I really like her, but I don't really want to ask her about her past. What if it's not good? You don't want to be that guy, gentlemen. Okay? So that's why number 3, trust and transparency. Number 4, avoiding surprises. There is a case of past relationships. You want to have knowledge of her past relationships because some of them can still be relevant in her life. Is she not over the ex? Is the ex contacting her? Is he showing up at her workplace or where you guys live? Is she still friends with an ex? Or if this is a case of some of you older gentlemen who you've had children, is she still co-parenting with an ex? Or is the ex out the picture, but you know he's history of violence or something and he wants to maybe try and come back in her life? You need to know this stuff. And that's why body count, sexual history, going deep into who she is as a person, and you volunteering about yours is a crucial step in the right direction. The amount of stories I've had of guys, they get married and it's like literally on the honeymoon, on the wedding night. Oh, but by the way, and then the girl confesses something. You'd be surprised the amount of women, and men do it too. They wait until they're serious, they've lured them in, they're committed, their feelings are involved, and then they tell them the truth. You know, it goes to anything. You could even talk about other topics. Some people wait years to confess to their partner that they're massively in debt or that they have an addiction or something because they don't want to be honest from the get-go. And this is why all these relationship problems happen. And gentlemen, this is something that you can prevent by asking from the get-go. So let me close with my situation, because obviously the woman I have now in my life is amazing, right? And since I say that I teach this, obviously I've applied this. So I'm going to walk you through exactly how I did it. So when I met her, we both matched online. I think I've mentioned this on a video I did on online dating apps. And I set up my Christian dating profile. Hey, I'm a Christian man. I date to marry. Swipe on me if this is what you're looking for. Boom. We match. She says she dates to marry. We exchange contact info. We hop on a phone call. We spoke for a good while, good 35, 40 minutes, asking each other deep questions. Okay, we're compatible. Okay, everything's good. And then I told her the truth. And I said, listen, I don't want to waste time. And I believe in being transparent. And I want to come clean and say that years ago, I had a girlfriend who I gave my virginity to. That's the only girl I've ever had sex with. One body count from a relationship. No hookups, no one night stands. I'm very against that. As she already knew from our conversation. But I'm against that. And that's what I can offer. I don't know about your past, but that is me. And if you cannot accept that, you have total freedom now to walk away because I'm a stranger and you ain't got no feelings involved. But I'm doing this to come clean and tell you from now so that you don't have to worry later on. Is he a fuckboy? Is he the type of guy to sleep around? What's his sexual history like? You know now. And she was blown away. She said, wow, I'm so glad you were honest with me. And I'm glad you told me. It's still very forward. She said, funnily enough, she said, I was actually going to ask you in a few days. But since you've already brought it up on our first conversation, I might as well tell you as well. She had the same situation. One boyfriend that she was intimate with, and it didn't work out. She learned the lesson, she healed, now she's chaste. And the rest is history. So we are sexually compatible. I have a one body count, he has a one body count, both from a one relationship. I didn't feel like she had more experiences than me, or she more than me, or there's no bitterness where she's like, oh, it's not, he did this and he did that, and I can't really accept that or look at him the same way. There's no judgment there. She's done the same as me. We can both accept it and let go and move on. There's no STDs. Everyone's clean. No infidelity. She's against hookups. I'm against hookups. Perfect. We both stand on the same page. But what happened was, that was our first phone call. We ended it like that, and she had to go do something. Then she called me back an hour later. We called for a few more hours, and that was that. The rest is history. Now I have her. And we spoke for a few more days. We really got everything out, a few more in-depth questions. We set our first date, and ever since then we've been together. But because we approached it from a place of honor and integrity and asking and being transparent from the beginning. And this sets a foothold to where you could actually bond, because I'm not hiding anything, neither are you. So let's actually have a relationship, let's actually connect. And this increases your emotional attraction, your connection, it builds trust. And that is, I think, the right way to do it. It makes the woman feel more comfortable, gentlemen, because you're honest. And if she ain't got nothing to hide, she's not going to feel jealous or insecure or anxious. What did I just tell you my girl said? I'm glad you told me, and I would have asked you in a few days. Obviously, women are a little bit softer and they may not ask you right away. But if the woman really has good values and she values her sexual purity, sooner or later, she's going to ask you. She will ask you. If she's shy, it might take her longer, but she will. And newsflash, if you've been with your girl for 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, you're married, and she's never asked about your body count, your sexual history, how many women you've been with, that is a woman that either has a large past herself and doesn't want it to be exposed by you asking her the same question back, or she settled for you and doesn't even care enough to ask about who you are. Because if a woman really sees you as the man of her dreams, the future father of her children, she wants to know about your past. Do you have any STDs? Is he clean? Can I trust him sexually? How many women has he been with? How likely is he to cheat? Does he watch porn? What is wrong with him? She wants to know. And if your girl ain't vetting you, she ain't wife material. I'm telling you right now, I learned that the hard way years ago. That's why I'm so firm on this and I teach this. And the case studies I've had, the emails I've had over the years of men that have wasted months or years with the wrong woman, it is terrible. And this is why the advice that this guy is giving is literally an insult to men and women who are serious about marriage and family, who have a knowledge gap. Because this right here, cucks men. He says this is cuck energy, fair enough. You know, you don't need to ask, okay, you slept with 2 guys. What was his dick size? How much money was he making? You don't have to ask that. Okay, how many men have you slept with? Was it relationships? Was it a one-night stand? Was it a hookup? Have you done anything else? Tell me the truth. You ask that. You go deep into that. You go further into that. Okay, what have you learned from that? Why would you not do it again? In what context? What was happening? Tell me the truth. That is masculine. What is being a cuck is never asking her. What is weak is never asking. Because the reason why the guy never asks is because he's afraid of being let down. Or he's afraid of losing the woman. And that is exactly why I tell you to ask at the beginning. Because at the beginning, you're not husband and wife. You're not fiance. You're not boyfriend and girlfriend. You're a man and a woman on a phone call. Or you exchange contact info. Or you meet in person and you're having a first conversation. You don't owe each other anything. You're strangers. You can walk away if it doesn't work out. So ask this now. Okay? You don't want to be that sweet guy, that lovely guy, and you're waiting and waiting, you're saving yourself for marriage, and you get with some chick who's been run through by a football team. And she confesses years later because she feels guilty. You don't want that. Even like I said, for the emotional compatibility, if she's been intimate with that many men, chances are she's just settling for you. You're just another number on the digit. You're just another tally mark on the side of the plane, another kill. The reason why they call it body count is because you're giving your body to someone. It's serious. It's not something that should be taken lightly. And if a woman can do that, or ladies, a man can do that consistently, they haven't healed, there's a very big risk that it's still in them mentally, spiritually, and it takes a lot of time to get that out of someone, and some people never heal, which is another thing. And I don't want you men to be with a woman that ain't right for you, or ladies, I don't want you to be with a man that ain't good for you. So this guy here is completely wrong. It is one of the most masculine things, men, And ladies, it's a very feminine thing to ask because you're vetting. You are serious. You know, it reveals that you actually have self-esteem, you value yourself, and you value the other person because you don't want to waste their time if they ain't right for you. So be very careful of anyone who tells you that you don't need to ask, it's not that important. This advice, discredited completely. This is important information that you need to know from the get-go. And claiming that a woman's going to look down on you for it is a lie. A woman that has something to hide will look down on you for it, or it will push them away. But a woman that really values this, she'll be glad you asked. In fact, one of my clients who has an amazing woman, he's a virgin, she's a virgin, they asked each other on the first same thing when they started talking, and it worked out for them as well. He followed my advice to the T. So, guys, this is really simple and it works. And if you are somebody who would like to learn more about what I do, feel free to check out my Relearning Relationships community where you can actually ask me questions. I post a lot of stuff. You have access to different courses that I've made. We have group calls so you can actually talk and interact with me. And I know a lot of you would like to get to know me more personally, more intimately as well, and really just chat and have access to me privately on a platform where it's safer. There's so much stuff that I can't say on YouTube, unfortunately. But in my community app, you can. It's on the computer, but you also have the app on your phone, so you can download it, Android or iPhone. And it's very affordable. It's only $5 a month. Cancel anytime, anyone can do it. So if you'd like to support me and get in touch with me, be closer to me, be able to ask questions, make posts, then yeah, I'll leave the link down below as well. But let this be known. You need to ask about sexual history. You need to. It's important, it's crucial, and it's the same reason a lot of people end up in such terrible marriages and then they blame marriage. Don't blame marriage. Blame yourself. You marry right or you marry wrong. You vet or you don't. And the time for vetting is at the beginning. The time for vetting a woman, gentlemen, is when you start dating and courting her. The moment you start talking, the moment you exchange contact info. And quite frankly, after a few months of courtship, and if you're really sharp and you have everything down, really after a few, less than that, a couple months or less, if you really are an expert in communication and you understand the stuff that I teach, after that point, you don't need to vet anymore. Now you just have a relationship and you bond and you move in, marry, whatever, have a family, you know, and you live a peaceful life. But these guys that get into this mindset where, oh, I've been with her for a year, I need to keep vetting her. No, you don't. Unless you didn't vet her at the beginning. You know, oh, I married her, I still need to be on my toes. No, you don't. She should be one flesh. What God has joined together, let no man separate. When you become one with that woman, you should know her inside and out. That's why knowing the past is important. Because you're going to be part of her future or her present. So you need to be really serious about this stuff. You don't have to keep vetting the woman after 6 months or a year. You're done with that. You're done with that when you start dating. You ask quality questions. You assess if you're right for each other. You observe word and actions. And after a few months, that's a done deal. Now you just bond and you actually trust them. A lot of you guys don't ever trust a woman because you didn't vet her to begin with. So you're with her for years and you're trying to figure her out. The time to figure her out is at the beginning. And if she's a genuine woman, she is who she is from day one to always. And so should you. So don't get vetting wrong. This is why a lot of men follow this guy's advice. I'm not going to ask my wife, but they deep down want to. Don't let it get to the point where she's your wife and you don't know. Ask her at the beginning when you're courting each other. Okay? So with that said, hope this video has been of value to you guys. I'll leave this down below as well. And let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. And if you have a friend of yours who's stuck in a relationship and he ain't asking the girl, send it to him. If this video resonates with you because perhaps you were in this situation in the past or you're currently in it now, or you're just a guy who's single watching and you're looking to learn, you can apply this for the future. And it'll save you a world of pain and actually pave the way for you to feel peaceful and comfortable. Because if the girl is right for you and you can both accept each other's pasts, you can move on with more trust. With that said, I'll see you all in the next one. God bless all of you and your family.